So Halloween's basically around the corner, so I'm gonna start working on my Halloween costume now. It's gonna be a Jester, and the yellow on there is not going to be yellow, it's going to be gold. I found this gold on sale, and considering how expensive gold fabric is, I have one shot to do this because I used up the entire bolt. For a pattern, I'm first using a pair of baggy pants and a baggy shirt and tracing around that. Then I cut it all out and pin it together before putting it through my machine. I tried this costume on many times during this whole process. Here's the first time, and half of this is pinned together and only half of this is sewn. So I'm currently trying my best to not pull all the pins out. And I make the right adjustments I need to, put it through my machine again, then try it on again. After I have that fitting well, I use that as a pattern to trace it out of the gold fabric. This time I'm going much slower, because it's gold, and I do not want to mess up on this. Here's what both sides look like, but I still need to put them together and put a zipper on them. So I do that off camera, and then work on the sleeves. This pattern ended up being too small, or like too thin, I guess, and it wasn't baggy enough, as you'll soon see. I just go through the same process of cutting it out, pin it together. I should have waited to put the suit together, so putting the sleeves on will be easier, but either way, I have to redo the sleeves because they aren't baggy enough. After fixing the sleeves, I run a gather stitch along the wrist and then fit it to my arm, having another person tie it off. I run the wrist through my sewing machine to give it strength, then do the same on the ankles. To hide the messy edges, I'm going to use a black ribbon to cover them up. Years later, when that's all dry, because foam makes things take forever to dry, I sew it straight onto my costume using some black embroidery thread. Moving down to the belt, I cut it out of this black scrap of fabric. I believe it's 34 by 6 inches. I tried to give myself extra room by giving myself 34 inches, but turns out that was just enough that I needed, so I should add more next time. And now onto the wrist ruffle things. I first take the part around that's going to go around my actual wrist and cover it in fabric. I run it through my sewing machine and add a strong snap closure. Then I take the part that's actually going to be ruffled and sew it on. I don't know how to explain this process really, but I'm taking a long rectangle and bending it into place and then sewing it together. Like I said, I don't really know how to explain it very well. I'm just following a tutorial I found. Here's how it turned out. It definitely could have been more ruffled, but I do the same for the other wrist and also for the neck piece, which I add a much bigger snap onto. Now for the shoes, I'm going to be making shoe covers for a pair that I found at a thrift store. So I cut it out of some black fabric and use some white chalk to mark it out. I pin it together before cutting it out and then run it through my sewing machine. I take the shoe and some hot glue and then put the cover onto there, hot gluing it on. I also add stuffing to the toe to give it structure before I glue it on completely and add more stuffing. I hot glue all the sides on the exterior of the shoe, and then for the inside, I cut the overlapping bits so I can more easily fold them into the shoe. Now the shoes aren't quite done, but I'm going to set them aside for now and start working on the hat. I made this pattern for a fairly large hat, and I'm going to cut that out, 2 pieces on both sides, because this is going to be split again like everything else is. I sew those 2 shapes together and then sew both halves together, and then I start stuffing them. I actually added too much stuffing at first and it was so heavy that I kept falling off my head. I took most of the stuffing out and it balanced just fine. And now for the finishing touch, bells. I sew one on each tip of the hat, onto the tips of the shoes, and I put 2 more onto a ribbon that could go around my wrist. And it's done. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know this is very, very early for Halloween, but I love Halloween a lot. It's my favorite holiday. You can say whatever you want, it's still gonna be my favorite. See ya!